Hello again, and welcome to the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast. Tom Calhoun here to shine a light on the stories of those instrumental in blues history. The Blues Legends Podcast is presented by Sarah Honda O'Fallon, Illinois. Check out their 618 Sarah Bucks offer at sarahhondaofallon.com. On this episode, it's a visit with a St. Louis hockey pioneer. Cam Janssen, born in St. Louis and raised in Eureka, Missouri, is the first ever born and raised St. Louisan to suit up in the NHL. He was famous for the rough stuff in hockey and takes great pride in that. The Janssen NHL career started with the New Jersey Devils, where he had 2 tours of duty, and of course he spent some seasons exciting the crowds at the Enterprise Center. Cam has a great way of telling his story, which you may know from his Cam and Strick podcast and his other efforts with the microphone. Stay tuned as we talk it over with St. Louis legend Cam Janssen in 60 seconds.
When it's time to find your next car, what's changed in your life? What's driving you to start the process? What are you really looking for? These are the questions we're asking at Sarah Honda. We believe in real communication, real problem solving, and trustworthy long-term relationships with our customers. We're part of your community, and we want you to be part of ours. At Sarah Honda, the experience drives everything. You've got a lot going on in life, and you depend on your car to get you to places you need to be. So when it's time for maintenance or repair, we know you need it done fast and done right. Convenience and quality customer service with team members you can trust. That's what you're looking for. We'll get you safely back on the road and back to your busy life. At Sarah Honda, the experience drives everything.
On this episode of the Blues Legends Podcast, we are happy to have Mr. Cameron Wesley Janssen on board. Cam, welcome aboard.
Hey, good to be here. Good to be here.
We are happy to have you, and here's some of the stories you have to tell. You know, Cam, folks, is a pretty prominent guy. You see him on the Cam and Strick podcast and between periods at the Blues games. And so we thought it was time to get to know Cam Janssen, the person, a little bit better. Cam Janssen, the media guy, is pretty well known. So born in St. Louis, grew up in Eureka. I think a lot of our fans know that. First born and raised St. Louisan to play in the NHL. You're pretty proud of that, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I mean, big time. And it's weird because it happened so fast. You know, I didn't really get into hockey until like 10 or 11. But I played every other sport. I lived way out in the woods out there, so I rollerbladed in my basement. So it's very difficult for my dad to get me any sort of ice time because it's an hour. You know, even to fit in form is pretty long ways away because I lived way out past FF, way out Pacific, but I still went to Eureka High School. So it was very difficult for my parents to be able to find ways to get me ice time and learn to skate and all that because they're working. So you see these kids now, they're skating twice a day before school and whatnot. So I had to kind of figure everything out on my own. I was a first generation hockey player. And, you know, once I started rollerblading and went to learn to skate, everything really, really kicked into gear and all came together pretty fast.
Yeah, and some people might say, wait a minute, Pat LaFontaine was born in St. Louis, but he moved to the Detroit area when he was a young boy and went on to the NHL and the Hall of Fame from there. He was only 7, I think, when he moved away from St. Louis. So you did the whole circuit all the way to the NHL as a St. Louis guy.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I love Pat LaFontaine. Yeah, I was a big fan of him growing up, but no one had any idea that he was from here. Like, none of the guys I grew up playing with were like, God, Pat LaFontaine did it. We could do it. Like, I had no idea until way later on in my life that I knew Pat LaFontaine was from around the Kirkwood area, I guess. But yeah, you know, it's good to, whenever I got into hockey, my dad took me to a game, and it was in the late 80s, early 90s, and I saw Brett Hall cruise around with his mullet. I saw Tony Twist. I saw Kelly Chase do their thing, and I just remember becoming obsessed with hockey, just like that. Boom. My dad used to take me to Cardinals games. I'm like, yeah, this is cool, blah, 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 blah. But once he took me to a Blues game at a young age, I became addicted to it. I saw what Twister was doing and Chaser and Hawley scoring, so many different goals throughout the year. And he was everywhere. He was at McDonald's. He had little toys. He had little like playing cards. He had magazines. And I'd make my dad go to McDonald's, not even get the food, just to get the little toy of Brett Hall. So he came on the scene. All the guys my age, the 90s kids, that kind of grew up in the 90s playing hockey, were obsessed with him. And that's why there was such a big influx of hockey players coming through because of Brett Hall and Twister and Chaser.
So you heard me do a few Brett Hall goal announcements back in the day, huh?
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. The best of the best, man. I mean, just to see him dominate in that fashion, even if you didn't know hockey, which I didn't understand it. I mean, again, I started from scratch. And just watching him do his thing and the way he presented himself, he had the look, he had everything. And again, all of us young kids that kind of grew up and, were born in like 84, 85 or whatever the case is. When he came on the scene, man, you see him play live, you are addicted to it.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. You mentioned your dad. Was he the guy that got you going in hockey, or who was your influencer that way?
Well, he was for sure. He didn't play. Nobody played. But once he took me to a game, I'm like, okay, let's get into it. So then my dad bought me equipment. I remember my dad, the first time I put it all on in the living room, and I hated the way my helmet looked. I hated the way my gloves felt. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I remember almost quitting hockey. I got into it like 10 years old, which is really late. And I couldn't figure out how to stop. I could not figure out how to stop. And I look at these young kids trying to get into this sport, and it's a pain in the butt. You're falling on the ice. You're falling against the boards. If you don't learn how to skate and stop, you might give it up pretty quick because it's frustrating. It's a very frustrating sport to get into until you do figure it out. So once I learned how to stop, that was everything. I got back into it. You're spraying the board, you're spraying your buddies, you're skating, you want to skate all over the place. And really didn't look back from there. But if you have a young kid and he's frustrated, once he learns how to stop, he's really going to be obsessed with skating.
Right. So talk about your family a little bit. Who's important to you in your life at this point?
Well, my mother passed away a couple years ago, but she was a big part of my life. They both were. My dad was a waterproofer. I remember going to work with him, 110-degree weather. He's dragging this freaking hose that's this thick around. The sun's blaring down. He's spraying tar on the construction site. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, there's just I don't want to do that. My mom went back to school and was a nurse at Clayton Jail and had to deal with a lot of stuff there too. So she was hardcore and tough as well. So they're both very, very tough people. And that's kind of where I got it from. I was born with it because, my family just had that grit to them. But yeah, very, very close. My dad and mom sacrificed a lot for us. We had to move from way out there. We had a nice house out there. We had to move into like a smaller house in Eureka. So it was easier for me to get around and go to different practices and stuff like that. So they certainly sacrificed, but man, they got the ride with me for a while there and really enjoyed it. And it was very frustrating, it's my mom I think I aged her more than anything, fighting all the time, getting injured. Like there was a lot of stress to it. So, but they got to see a lot of stuff, man. They really, really did.
Well, good for them, and rest in peace to your mom. How about current family people? Who's close to you now?
My lovely wife, Kate, which is the phone I'm using right now because I dropped my iPhone on the exposed aggregate and my camera doesn't work. So that's why it's been a little bit of a fiasco early. I apologize to you, Tom. But my wife, I went to high school with Kate, and I never really got to connect with her in high school. I was a hillbilly boy. I didn't have any, I had confidence. I knew what I was going to do, but she kind of was above my league at that point. But we reminisced, later on in my career, I saw her out and we kind of got back into it and we started dating. And, she's been through a lot of ups and downs with me. Like you cannot believe. I don't even know how much time you have, but there's a lot. She stuck by my side, which probably most women wouldn't do with a lot of different stuff I was going through at the time. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know where I'd be right now. I mean, there is a lot that goes into being a professional athlete that fights all the time, man, I got, addicted to painkillers really, really bad. That was probably the most hardcore thing I've ever been through. You're a player, you get hurt, and all of a sudden you get 190 painkillers and you're sitting at home for 3 months. No one cares about you. No one's really checking in on you because the guys are doing their thing. They're out of town. So you're just alone. So that was a really tough experience for me. And she's a big reason why I was able to crawl out of that. So, gosh, if I didn't have my parents and people like Kate and a couple other people scattered through my life, man, oh man, things could have gone in a different direction really fast.
Yeah, and I've seen some photos on social of Kate, and you definitely outkicked your coverage there.
Well, I appreciate that. She lives a good life too, She's doing well. She chills at the house, and we don't have kids, but we do a lot of stuff together. We're gonna probably golf today, and make a fire and chill with the puppies. So we're pretty simple people.
Yeah, well, enjoy that. You earned all of it, and you continue to earn things with the Cam and Strick podcast. That's something that a lot of our fans of this podcast, and you have a whole lot more audience than we do on this one, but it's great. I enjoy just about every episode you put out. Do you produce that yourself, you and Andy, or who works on lining up that programming content?
Well, Andy and I both do. Andy does a lot for the podcast. He's got a really big Rolodex. We get all kinds of unique players on. We've been doing it for 6 years. Right after the boys won the Stanley Cup. And we have our own flair to it. You know what I mean? Andy and I chirp each other for about an hour and a half. And people really like that banter we have back and forth. They like when I get upset with him. They like when I make fun of him. They like when he digs at me so I get pissed. And it's not fake. It's not fake at all. It's rated R for sure. But we dig into all kinds of stuff. Like, I'm not just interested in hockey. So we'll have the best guests on. Big dog Hall of Famers, and we'll talk hockey with them for an hour. But the hour and a half before that, we might dig into all kinds of different stuff. I'm into natural disasters and weather, and there was a plane crash the other day we talked about. We'll dip into this, we'll dip into that, we'll talk about different sports. If it's hockey, if there's a lot of hockey stuff going on, we'll touch up on everything that's big in the hockey world, but it veers off in a lot of different directions. And a lot of people just like to listen to our banter more than the interview, to be honest. And when you have people that say that, it's a good feeling.
And your other partner on the radio is Jimmy the Cat Hayes. You're on Monday through Friday with him on 590 The Fan. That's got to be fun too.
See the two guys I got to work with? No wonder I'm going bald. But yeah, I'm on. I got into radio right when I retired. I was supposed to go back over to Nottingham, England to play 2 more years. I signed an extension there. I was going to be captain over in Nottingham. They had all these different signs up on buildings and all this stuff. And 2 weeks before I was about to leave to go there for training camp, I got a bunch of job offers. I got to give Tim McKernan a shout out. He kind of boosted my radio career and believed in me and got me in. And I liked it. I got my own thing that I do. I ask a lot of questions on radio. Do I know everything about every sport? No. Did I even pay attention to sports when I was playing? Not really. But now that I'm retired, I'm around big-time sports freaks all the time. So I'm into it. I'm into college football. I'm into the Cardinals. I'm into UFC and football, whatever the case is. So I love doing it. I think it comes natural to me. Do I say stupid things here and there? Yeah, but I think people get a kick out of that.
And the cat has quite the sense of humor, doesn't he?
Oh, he'll chirp you. You better I'm telling you, you got to be on your toes because he'll dig at you so fast. Oh, my gosh. He'll spin your words around so fast and make you look foolish. But it's good to work with people like that. I love it. And that's what people want to hear. They don't want you to agree on everything. Hey, I agree with you. I agree with you. No, let's go back and forth a little bit. Let's kind of dig deep a little bit. I'm very open about my life and my past and my ups and downs. So I think that makes for better banter as well.
Definitely. Now you're also selling some barbecue sauce, I understand.
Yeah. We teamed up with Bare Knuckle Barbecue. They're a local organization. I'm with Tony Twist, Reed Lowe, Jamie Rivers, and Jim Campbell, and we all have our different kinds of barbecue. And it comes in this little cute, little package. They're all different. Mine's spicy. Jamie Rivers has a bourbon barbecue to it. Twisters is that I think he's more of a yellow mustardy type of sauce. They're all unique in their different way. You can have they have little hockey cards and stuff attached to it all. It's really, really cool. They did a really, really good job with this. And now I put mine on everything. It's like hot sauce. I put it on my eggs. I put it on this. I put it on that. I use it as a binder for, whatever it is, whether it's a turkey or this or that or whatever case it is. So, but yeah, it's doing well. We're in Schnucks and Deerbergs now. So things are moving pretty good. But this is when you do something like this, you don't look at it like, we need to make money now. Of course, they need to make money, bare knuckle barbecue, but we're in this for the long haul. We're going to do it right. We're promoting it as much as we can. We're doing different events coming up here throughout the holidays and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool. And then I get to see the guys all the time. So we're like, we need to have a meeting. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go to the alumni room. Let's have a couple of beer. Let's do our thing. Let's shoot the breeze, tell some stories, and go over what we need to do business-wise.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've taken care of business pretty well. Let's get back to hockey a little bit. 3 years with the St. Louis Sting Junior A North American Hockey League, drafted by the Windsor Spitfires of the OHL back in '01. And instead of finishing high school in Eureka, you go to Windsor to play up there. That had to be something to, leave your home and your high school to go play hockey.
Oh, absolutely. We didn't know much about, I remember going to Canada when I was playing for the AAA Blues. You pop in and pop out for little tournaments, but I didn't really know too much about Canada. Never stayed there for that long. I know I had teams that would fly me in when I was young to play in a tournament with them, like the Lambton Lightning or whatever the case was. So I was used to kind of going back and forth, but I never lived in Canada. I didn't really know too much about the Ontario Hockey League either. Like that sounds ignorant, but I didn't. Like we didn't grow up like, oh, how's the OHL doing? Like we had no idea. And people were saying, my agent was saying different things like, hey, you're gonna get drafted by this by Windsor Spitfires. Like, where's that at? Like, it's right next to Detroit. I'm like, oh, okay. So I remember going up there, sitting next to Dustin Brown, and I got drafted 3rd round. And moving up there, I remember my dad taking me up there, just looking through the town. I remember meeting my first billet family I had to live with, who were like 70 years old, just so you know, with 5 daughters, all moved out. And my mom and dad were very lenient. We were rowdy, wild, 2 boys, me and my brother. We did what we wanted. We were out, flying around the neighborhood at night as kids, like doing this, doing that, like cussing, whatever. And then I moved in with this first-time billet family, 7 years old. So that was a wake-up call for sure, for sure. I remember like girls would call, and my billet mom would be like, Cam's in the bathroom. Hold on 1 second. I'm like, what are you doing? Give me that damn phone. Like, it just was it was a fun experience. And they became big time hockey fans real fast. They weren't even hockey fans. They just got asked to billet some kid from Eureka, Missouri, and they said yes. And we became very, very close. And they were at the draft in Toronto, and I got drafted by the Devils. So it was a wild experience in Windsor, man. And not to mention, I'm going to high school up there too. You're in the newspaper in the morning. Everybody knows who you are. I signed for a couple $100,000, so I had money. I bought a big SUV. Yeah, I was living the life up there for sure.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
And then you're drafted in '02 in the 4th round by the New Jersey Devils. Were you expecting that? Were you happy, disappointed that you didn't go higher? What were your thoughts then?
Oh, didn't go higher. Oh, hell no. I didn't know what to expect. They said 2 to 4. I had a really good year my first year in the OHL. I led the league in penalty minutes. I led the league in fights. I had like 26 points. I was going pretty good. So I got noticed quite a bit. And I know Marcel Pronovo was always at the Windsor games. And that was Lou's guy. That was his scout in the Detroit area. Lovely human being.
Yeah.
And he would talk to me like, hey, the Devils we're watching you, and I was just like, okay. So I knew the Devils were on to me. But when I went to Toronto for the draft, I remember I had to talk to 20 different teams, whatever it was. And my first team was with the Devils. And I remember walking into the room, in a tiny little room, there's like 10 guys, and Lou with his glasses, like kind of just tilted down a little bit. So he's staring into your soul. And he goes, who do you think you play? Who do you want to play like? And I go, Ty Domi. And he looks at me and goes, we don't like Ty Domi. And I go, oh. And I just remembered the year before is when Domi with the Leafs are playing the Devils in the playoffs, and he chicken winged Scotty Niedermayer and knocked him out cold. Remember that? You got seven games for it. So it was pretty funny, very intimidating. And actually, during the draft, I'm sitting next to Aaron Niddle, who played on Windsor with me. He was supposed to get drafted in the third round, kind of close to what I was supposed to do. So when the Devils went up in the third round, they go from the Windsor Spitfires, and then me and my dad jumped up like, yes! And they go, Aaron Niddle. We're like, oh, good job, Nitzy. High five, high five. And then the next round came by, and they said my name. And usually whenever people say your name, everybody gets up like, ooh, shake everybody's hand. Me and my dad are like, hell yeah, baby. Let's go. What's up? Let's go. We made a scene, but, we're from Eureka, Missouri. We didn't care. And I wanted to show them that I have a lot of emotion, and they figured that one out pretty quick.
Right. So when did you figure out that the physical part of the game was going to be your ticket to the NHL? How young were you, and when did that hit you?
Probably when I was 2 years old. I was fighting everybody, man. I was in the mix when I was a kid, fighting my brother's buddies. Not like didn't have friends. I had tons of friends, but I was pretty hardcore. I wanted to be the tough guy. I wanted to fight. I wanted to box. I wanted to wrestle. I wanted to do this. I wanted to be twister. I wanted to be chaser. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I got to play this way. I wanted to play that way. I wanted to hit guys. I loved hitting more than anything. And if I wasn't a good hitter, I wouldn't have played the NHL. The fighting, yeah. Listen, I could hold my own with the heavies. I could beat up guys. The majority of the league if I wanted to, and I could deal with the heavyweights. That only gets you so far. I had to hit guys consistently and find my angles and try not to get suspended and, be able to do that consistently. That's what kept me in the NHL for sure. But I loved doing that. I was strong on my skates, and I wanted to hit right through you. So, and again, I'm just learning the game. I didn't even know how to sauce pass until I was 16 years old. That's how quick everything happened. So I was way behind the eight ball, but I had my little niche with hitting, and that kind of got noticed more than anything. And I just figured out the game. And people are like, well, you didn't score many goals. I still had to get the puck out of the zone. I mean, pucks are flying at you. You got to make a play. Because if I'm not making a play, getting the pucks in, doing the right thing with the puck, I'm not playing. So I had to learn a lot in a short amount of time. But the fighting and the hitting certainly came natural.
Right. NHL debut, Devils versus New York Rangers, November 5th, 2005. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. It's a pretty hardcore story, actually. I've told this story before on Spittin' Chicklets and other podcasts, but I'll say it again because it actually almost screwed me over bad. I'm a young kid. I know I'm next in line to get called up. I'm doing well in the American League. I'm beating up guys. I'm hitting. Robbie Fatorek's like, just keep doing your thing. You're going to be the next guy called up because they had Darren Langdon and Christoph Oliwa. And once they got traded away, I knew I was going to be the next one called up. But I'm on the bus with the guys in the American League. They steal my phone. And they switch out Lou Lamoriello's name with a young kid on the team who I'm really close with. And I had no idea. So a couple of days go by. It's a night before a game in Albany. I call up my buddy thinking it's him at like 10 o'clock at night, like, hey, where are we going? Which you shouldn't do. I should be in bed at that point. I'm a young kid. I don't even think I don't know if I was 21 yet. Maybe I was, but I remember an older man picked up. And I go, Murph, what's up, baby? Let's go. Let's look for some girls. And he goes, who's this? I go, who the hell is this? He goes, this is Lou Lamoriello. And my heart sunk. I didn't know what to say. I paused, but then I'm like, he knows it's me. So I had to just swallow it and suck it up. And I go, Lou, I'm sorry. They switched your number. Somebody switched your number out with Ryan Murphy. I'm sorry. He's like, who did that? I go, I don't know yet. So he hangs up. I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm going to get sent that because he doesn't mess around. Lou does not mess around with any of that kind of stuff, man. He does not mess around. He is hardcore. And so I'm like, I'm done. So my parents fly in to Albany to see a game. They're in town. I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even tell them about this because I don't want them freaking out. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get sent down to the East Coast League anytime now. So I go out there, play against Springfield, had a good fight against a monster guy, had a nice assist. And I'm hanging out with my parents after the game in their hotel room, eating pizza, drinking beer. And we're watching the Devils play the New York Rangers. And they played them that night, and they played them the next night after that. And Ryan Hallwig is running around crushing guys. And my dad turns around, looks at me, and goes, "You're going to get called up." And I'm like, "You have no idea. I'm going to get sent down because I screwed up so bad because they stole my phone and switched my number out. And Lou is not happy with me." He goes, but I didn't say that. But right when he said, "You're going to get called up," my phone rings. And I go, "Hello?" And it's Robbie Ftork. He goes, "Cam, you're not playing in the game tomorrow." And I'm like, "Come on, Robbie. My mom and dad are in town." He goes, "Shut up. Shut up, kid. You're not playing in the game tomorrow because you just got called up to the big club. Get your stuff, pack your shit. You're going to New York. Head out tonight." And that's my mom and dad were right there. I freaked out. They got to see me play my first game at Madison Square Gardens. Darius Kasparaitis hits me first shift, like bam! I get the puck out of the zone. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't got hit that hard in a while. All the guys were going crazy on the bench. I have my next shift, I go out and I hit him. Had a really good game. My parents got to see that, all that hard work, all that crazy stuff as a crazy kid they had to deal with, and they got to see me play in the most popular venue in the world.
Great story. Thank
Yeah.
you for telling it. I appreciate it. First goal versus the Washington Capitals in 07 in your 82nd NHL game.
Oh.
That must have been a good memory too, huh?
Oh, man, I was getting tortured by people about not scoring a goal. And obviously I was doing something on the ice because if you're not, I would sit, why are they playing me? But it took forever for me to score a goal. And I had chances and this and that and hit the post. You know how it is, man. And I'm like, I'm never going to score. I'm going to get sent down one of these days and I'm not going to score. And it's just, I'm just getting chirped by other teammates and my own teammates and fans and stuff like that. Not in a bad way, but like I was doing other things. I was beating guys up. So I balanced it out a little bit. But you got to score a goal. And so I remember playing Washington and I took a stupid penalty. And I didn't take that many bad penalties. I took hitting penalties. I'll hit you late here and there. But this was a stupid-ass tripping call, which I never get. And like a fourth-line guy, don't trip anybody up. Get your stick out of there, take a couple extra strides, and get on the man that way. So I take a tripping call. Marty Brodeur literally saving, boom, off his head. Jay Pandolfo's blocking shots. I'm like in the penalty box, like, oh, my God, I'm never going to play another shift this game. So I get out of the penalty box. Jay Pandolfo blocks a shot like this, kicks it up to the right wing to me. Alexander Ovechkin's behind me. He could have took two more steps and caught up with me and broke the play up, but he didn't. And I went down the right wing and ripped a slap shot, bar down, boom. And my mom and dad were there too, by the way. And there's a picture of me like this, and they're behind me in the stands.
Yeah, I thought you might be able to remember that one.
Oh, yeah. There's only a couple of them. I remember all of them.
So, traded to the Blues on February 26, 2008, NHL trade deadline deal. Bryce Salvador goes to the New Jersey Devils. You make your Blues debut a couple days later wearing number 55 against the Phoenix Coyotes. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I was going through a really, really tough time. I was injured. I ripped my shoulder out that year. So I was out forever. Just sitting at my house in Jersey, young kid, I'm lonely. Not that, don't feel sorry for me. Like I'm still in the NHL, but I mean, I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm like, what do I do? You're just sitting there, and I couldn't work out. I couldn't get my endorphins going. I'm just down. It just sucked. And finally, I'm getting healthy. And Lou calls me in his office after a bag skate, and he's like, "Hey, I dealt you to your hometown." And I go, "What?" And I was probably a little bit more excited than I should have been because he's done a lot for me, drafted me, signed me, da-da-da-da. But he knows I was dragging all year long, watching hockey, not playing. And so I was excited to be able to get another opportunity. They had Aaron Asham and stuff like that, so they were already sealed. So they didn't really need me anyway. And it just was probably the best thing for my career after hockey was playing for my hometown team. You know, like if I played for the Devils and I came back to St. Louis, like, yeah, people would know me, but not like it is now. And once I got traded there, man, it was every day doing something. You're, you're getting pulled in so many different ways. They're at that point, you remember this, was like, come grow with us. So all of us young guys, me, Osh, Perron, Bergie, EJ, whoever, we were going out, doing different events, doing this, getting asked to do all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy. Nowadays, like, it's like, can the guy, they're way more strict with the guys doing different stuff, and rightfully so. But at that point, we were everywhere. Then my family's dragging me in different directions, and your buddies in high school and stuff like that. But it was such an awesome feeling to play and put that note on. I lived right next to my parents. I bought a house right next to my parents. All my buddies knew where I lived. They all got to see me come to the games, and I see them all in the stands. And I remember my buddies would be behind the bench, Tom, and Andy Murray wouldn't play me, right? He'd sit me, and my buddies would be like, "Screw you, Andy!" You and I could hear them. I could literally hear them, and I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my!" And I remember like seeing Andy Murray like look back and see, and I'm like, they know that we're associated with each other, dummies. And they would bash Andy Murray. And then after the game, all my buddies would be right there. And Andy Murray would walk by next to the locker room and kind of put it all together like, oh, those are your buddies that have been bashing me behind the net. So it was great. We partied in St. Louis. We had fun. We'd always go back to my house in Eureka. It just was a wild, fun experience. It really, really was.
Yeah. When you came here, though, wasn't DJ King kind of the policeman of the team at the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, he was. Kinger, awesome guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. And we, that was at that point where there was a couple of heavyweights on a lot of teams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we certainly didn't get pushed around at all. And then Kinger went to Washington, I stayed, and then I signed back with the Devils in 2012.
Yeah.
So 4 years was that was a good chunk to, you do get smothered here a little bit. Like it is a small bubble. And if you're from here, it makes that bubble even smaller. You know what I mean? You just know a lot of people, which is great. But it was good to go back and get away too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you went back to the Devils in 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, and that was a two-way deal. So you were up and down a lot with them as your career was winding down, right?
That year I was up the whole year, and we lost to the Kings in a final. Didn't play. Me and Eric Bolton didn't play in the playoffs. That was a long year. But yeah, that was Lou brought me back, which is great. And then I got sent down the year after that. There's a lockout. We had there's no training camp. Remember it started in January in 2013. Remember that? Brutal for guys like me. Like I needed to get into camp and skate. There's only so much training you could do. You need to play in games. But the first time I got sent back down to the minors was a big wake-up call. You know what I mean? You get used to that high life a little bit. Now you got to go down to the minors and stay at the Holiday Inn. You're eating Subway. You're riding the bus. I'm fighting guys that I have no idea who they are. That's a problem. I knew everybody in the NHL here fighting, know exactly what they're going to do to me. I know if they're a lefty. I know how big they are, blah, 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 blah. Now you go to the minors. Now all these young kids are tapping on my door like, hey, we're going. And I'm like, okay, what are you? So the money's not there, as much. They still get paid pretty damn good. But considering what you're up for 6-7 years. So that was a little bit of a wake-up call. But yeah, man. So it all worked out. It all worked out. Could I have saved more money? Sure. Could I have done this and done that? Sure. Could I have been more healthy in ways? Yes. Could I have worked harder? No. I worked myself to the bone. Done near killed me. Maybe I was burning both ends of the candle a little too much, but I never missed anything. Was never late for anything. But I abused my body pretty bad when you put it all together.
Yeah. Well, let's go in a little different direction here. When we were talking about doing this podcast at a game a few weeks ago, you said you had some questions for me. So fire away.
What? Okay. Well, how long you been with the organization? How many years?
38. I started in 1987, January of 87.
87.
Yeah.
So if you could look at the roster of every single team, and I know 19 they won, but what was the most loaded team you've ever witnessed with the St. Louis Blues? In your opinion, top to bottom, goaltending, everything. What year was that?
Well, it had to be the President's Trophy year, I think, with McInnes and Pronger, and that would have been what, 99-01, somewhere in there. They were just, a machine. There was no way I thought that they weren't going to be in the Stanley Cup final that year. Well, it didn't turn out that way, but it was just a loaded team. And of course, the Hall and Oates teams back in the day
Yes.
were amazing too. And I've had Mr. Oates on the podcast a few weeks back. I'm still working on Holly, but we'll,
He'll do it.
yeah, he'll do it eventually, and he's a busy guy. But yeah, I think the 99-01 team, aside from the Stanley Cup team, has to be that one.
What was your reaction with the whole Scott Stevens situation and Lou Lamoriello with the Devils in the early 90s?
Well, it's funny you should ask about that because it just so happened that I was working in radio at the time, and Scott Stevens, I met at a radio remote that we did at a restaurant, I think in Fairview Heights, Illinois. He was doing a promo for the team, and we did a broadcast there, and I got to know him a little bit. And it wasn't long after that that whole thing came down where he was awarded back to the Devils in the signing of, who was it, Mike or Brendan Shanahan, I guess.
Yep.
And yeah, that was a tough deal, and everybody thought that he was the missing link to the team at that point, that he was going to be the one that took them to the Stanley Cup that they never had. And so, yeah, that was a really big deal. Interesting question. That you know more about that because of the Devils, right?
Yeah, but that was way before my time. And I didn't even understand it as a kid when it happened because I was too young to figure all that out with the lawyers and this and that. But once you get older and then I get drafted by the Devils and I know how Lou as a businessman is, and he got him, man. He got him. He found a little loophole and he got the guy he wanted. They wanted to give Cujo, I think Cujo was in the mix. Like, no. We got a goalie here named Mark Tambrador.
Yeah.
And I think they could have thrown in Cavallini because they needed a defenseman. They could have thrown in Cavallini with Gino. Was it Gino or
No,
Paul?
it was
Paul. Because
Yeah.
he was a left-handed defenseman. They needed that. So if they would have threw Paul in there, maybe Lou would have accepted it. But no, it was, of course, Scott Stevens. And gosh almighty, just being around that guy, like that would have been a game changer had he stayed. But it is what it is. What about coaching-wise? Is there any coach that you didn't quite like that maybe – I don't know if you're too close with too many of them, but you see them. You're down there all the time. Like, rank your top 3 coaches for the Blues.
Top 3 coaches. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Chief right off the bat. Craig Berube. Right behind him, I would say Joel Quenneville, because he was not only a good coach, great coach while he was here, but he was a person's person, if you want to. He just, when he went to Colorado, and the first time he came back into town with the Avalanche when he was coaching there, those kind of people that just cares about other people, and so I just like him from that standpoint. And behind that, I would say, looking back on the early days of the team, Brian Sutter. Brian Sutter was not a coach for very long with the Blues, but he was one of those guys when you walked into, and I was working in radio at the time, if you walked into a post-game scrum with your recorder and you asked a stupid question, he would let you know about it. But you still respected him immensely because he was all business, and that business was trying to make the Blues a winning team. And so, okay, those are my 3.
Who's the next Hall of Famer going to be in the rafters?
Next Hall of Famer in the rafters. Hmm.
I got my guy.
I'm gonna say Jordan Bennington.
Yeah.
Was that your guy?
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
Yeah,
It's got to be.
I think so. I mean, he's already played in more games
Yeah.
than any other Blues goalie. He was, of course, he stood on his head in the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, and you know, he's got the he's got the name around the league. I think that will get him the recognition he needs. I just really think he'll be the next guy.
Yeah, I
Well,
think you're right on it.
let me ask you a few fun questions, and then we'll wrap this up real quick and let you
Cool,
go.
man.
What percentage of your fights would you say that you won?
I'll answer it like this: winning, as in if it was in a boxing committee, less than half, because I fought big guys.
Mm-hmm.
But winning, like I went toe to toe with a monster and got the crowd going. That's by if you want to say that I held my own with those guys, and the bench is going crazy, and the fans are going crazy, and everybody's like, yeah. Although he outpunched me because I couldn't get going, then I would say a lot of them because I didn't lose bad much, and I didn't never get knocked out, thank God. But I didn't lose bad much. I always wanted to put on a show. So I think that percentage is quite high in my opinion. But if you want to you would count the punches like I lost a lot because a lot of these guys I'm going to big boys and I'm only 5'11", and so I had to eat a lot to get myself going to be able to counterpunch. So I was smart about it. I had a game plan every time I fought somebody. I really, really did. And I didn't want to be too crazy and too stupid to get caught. Because once you get caught, man, that sets you back bad.
Yeah.
So you gotta be disciplined when you fight guys that are trying to punch through you and hurt you. So did I lose a lot of fights? Yeah. But did I get the crowd and the bench going in those fights that I lost? Oh, hell yeah. So I count that as a win.
Okay. What do people not know about Cam Janssen that would surprise them?
Woo! I'm obsessed with like weather and natural disasters for some reason, and history, and the way the world works, and the ancient pyramids to the Ice Age to the dinosaurs and the K2 event and all that kind of stuff. Like I go through documentaries. I don't have kids, so I have to watch hockey all the time. I have to keep my eye on sports, but I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff. The Edmund Fitzgerald, the shipwreck that happened in Lake Superior, the 50-year anniversary popped up there today. I read all about that. It's very, very interesting. Just I know it's kind of morbid, and I get made fun of on the radio about it, but anytime there's an earthquake, anytime there's something like that, I'm locked in. I'll give you another example. Remember that weirdo billionaire a couple years ago, Stockton Rush? He had that little submarine, crappy little freaking thing with a PS2 remote, and they trying to look at the Titanic. All these billionaires like, hey, let's go look at the Titanic, and this makeshift bull crap, and obviously it imploded. Those kind of stories, I know, again, it's bizarre, but I'm into them. Plane crashes, I know. It drives me nuts. I have a fear of flying, but yet I watch how plane crashes happen, all the little details that went on into it, and what went down. And I love animals. I love animals. If I had a ton of money, I would buy a couple thousand acres somewhere in Missouri, and I would have, I don't know if I had a ton of money, I would probably have a couple exotic animals and a bunch of cats and dogs and horses and this and that. I'm a big animal lover, man. And yeah, I'm interested in a lot of different things. You know what I mean? Like I truly, truly am. I do keep up with politics, although that drives you nuts. It
Yeah.
just does. It drives you nuts. But I like to keep up on world affairs and what's going on currently in the world.
What kind of music do you like?
I like everything, but my dad got me into heavy metal when I was young. When we had to drive from out yonder, way the hell up to Canada, in this van that my dad had, he put on Rage Against the Machine for me, Pearl Jam, Pantera, Rush, Pink Floyd. Then we get chilled out with Pink Floyd and the Moody Blues. But he got me into heavy metal And I'm a big heavy metal guy, but I listen to everything. I mean, I'm not a big rap guy. I'm not even a big country guy, to be honest with you. Although I do like country because I look out in my backyard. That's what they sing about. So I'm right here. My wife loves it. But I like classical music too, by the way. I like classical music. I like to chill, jam out. If I'm on a plane, just listen to classical music, kind of just chill me out a little bit. But if I want to get pumped up for something, man, I'll listen to heavy metal, Lamb of God. I mean, just hardcore stuff like that. So I'm all over the place with that, man.
Thank you so much for your time on this. I appreciate it so much. I love your energy. So does everybody else, I know. And we look forward to seeing you at a game soon. And congratulations on all the good stuff you're doing.
You too, Tommy. I'll see you Friday. I'll see you every single home game, man. I love catching up with you. You've been around a long time. You do a damn good job, man. All the respect in the world, buddy. I'll see you Friday.
Thanks for being with me for another episode of the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast. We'll have another legend coming up soon, so stay tuned to our social media for news on who that legend might be. Visit PAGuyTom.com or BluesHockeyLegends.com and sign up for our Legends email notifications. The Legends Podcast is also available on the Scoops Sports Network at scoopswithdannymac.com. Video of the podcast is published the Monday after the Friday release of the audio. As always, please like and share on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It all keeps the Legends Podcast alive and well. Tom Calhoun here saying thanks for being a fan, and let's go Blues!